We begin today the Gemara on Daf Lamed Aleph, Amud Beis, at the Mishnah, the bottom of the Amud. Zakt Eilige Mishnah, Ze Ba B'Chavitei. One person was walking in the street with his barrel. V'Ze Ba B'Kairasei. Someone else is walking in the other direction, coming towards him with a beam, carrying a beam on his shoulder. What happened? There was a collision. Nishbara Kadei Shel Zeh B'Kairasa Shel Zeh. The jug of this person got broken by the beam of the other one that bumped into him. Pater. So the one with the beam will be pater to pay for this damage. Because this is a Reshus Rabim, and they both have permission to walk here. So each one has to be careful where he's going. You can't blame someone for bumping into you. However, if the case is different, they weren't coming against each other, but the one with the beam is walking first, and the one walking with the barrel is behind him. And now, and the one with the barrel sped up too quickly, and he bumped into the one with the beam, and his barrel broke. So pater. The one with the beam will be pater, because why did you bump into me from behind? You went too quick. So pater balakaira, that is. The balakaira ahead of him will be pater. However, ve'im amad balakaira, if the one that's in the front with the beam just stops, and now the one in the back bumps into him, then chayiv, then you'll be chayiv for this. We actually had this before in the Gemara. The Gemara there said that it depends why the one with the beam stopped. If he stopped just for a moment to adjust his beam on his shoulder, that's normal. That's a kind of stop which is not like a short stop, or not like a kind of stop where the person behind can't expect that. You have to keep a certain distance, and the fact that you bumped in, he won't be chayiv. But if he's omad lafush, if the balakaira stopped, then he's like stopping and he's resting now, and the one in behind bumped into him, then he's going to be chayiv for stopping in such a way. However,
not like a traffic accident.
Yeah, not like a traffic accident. Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure what the laws in traffic with cars are. Ve'im amar lebal chavis amoid. If the balakaira, which is ahead, and he's stopping, but he announces, he tells the person behind, stop, I'm stopping. So then pater. So then he's going to be pater, even if the guy behind bumped into him, because he stopped, but he notified him that he's stopping. It's like today, you make a signal, whatever it is. So then you gave him a warning, so you pater. Okay, the Mishnah goes through the same concept, but in the reverse case, where the Baal Chavis is the one that's on the front. Hoya Baal Chavis Rishain, if the one with carrying the barrel is the one that's going first, or Baal Kaira Achrain, and the guy with the beam is coming behind him. So in such a case, Nishbara Chavis Bekaira, if the person with the barrel that's in the front, it breaks by the person with the beam in behind, so then Chayiv, the person with the beam behind, went too quick, and he bumped into the person with the barrel in the front. So I'll be chayiv for that. Vim amad bal chavis. But if the bal chavis, the one walking in the front with his barrel, just stops, and that's why the person with the beam in behind bumps into him, so then pater. He's pater for this damage, because why did you stop? Because you stopped. That's why I bumped into you. But vim amal bal kaira amoid. If the one with the barrel in the front announced and warned him that he should stop, and then chayiv. So then the one with the kaira that bumped into him will be chayiv, because he got a warning to stop. Says the Mishnah, the same halacha that we just described with a barrel and the beam, it could also apply in another example. If one person is walking with a candle of light, fire, and the other one is coming with his flax, same thing, they will bump into each other. The same halacha that was described there will apply. So the Taisus Yomtiv says the reason why the Mishnah says v'chein regarding fire and flax, why would I think it's any different than the case of the beam and the barrel? Because maybe a person that walks with fire and a Reshus Rabbi, you would think that fire is flammable, and that the people there are walking with all kinds of things, that you have to be much more careful when you walk with fire in the street. So you would think maybe someone that's walking with a ner, with fire, he has to even be more careful no matter what. That's where the Mishnah says, no, the same halacha applies regarding the ner and the pishtan. Ba'imene Rabba Bar Nosson Rav Huna. Rabba Bar Nosson asked the following shaila from Rav Huna. If a person injures his wife during marital relations, Mahu, what's going to be the halacha? Is the husband chayiv to pay for the damages that he caused? Do I say, since what he did and the injury that he caused was by an act that he did, that he had permission to do this, so pater, so therefore he does not have to pay for this injury. Or perhaps nevertheless, he has to be careful, he has to pay attention and be careful not to cause any injury. So he will be chayiv for this. Amalei. So Rav Huna says, Tanisua. We could answer this by what we learned over here in the Mishnah. When we're talking about the person with the beam and the person with the barrel, what did the Mishnah say? Why, if the beam damaged the barrel, will you be pater? Since they both have permission to walk here in the Rishus Harabim, so therefore you're pater. So what you see is, when a person is doing something in a place that he has Rishus, permission, so then he's pater. So over here as well, since this is an act that the husband did, that he had Rishus for this, so therefore any injury that he causes, he'll be pater as well. Amar Rava, but Rava disagrees with this. Rava says, no, you should be chayev, kal v'chaimer. I'll prove to you that the husband should be responsible for the injury that he causes with the following kal v'chaimer. And he brings the kal v'chaimer from a case where a person kills someone b'sheigig, and there the pasuk says, it describes there, asher yavai esre'eu bayar, that what happened is you were with your friend in the forest, and then accidentally something happened, you were chopping wood, and you killed someone. So over there, so the Gemara says, based on that, he says the following kal v'chaimer. If we see when it comes to a forest, the people that are there in the forest, each one is going there with permission into their place that they're allowed to go to. It's a open place for anyone to enter there. So but nevertheless, over here, when someone kills someone b'sheigig, it's as if you're killing him b'sheigig in a place where you went into your friend's property. You're responsible for this, that you killed the other person that's here, because the other person has the permission to be here, and you'll be chayiv for this. If so, over here, when we're talking about this case of the husband and the wife, when he injures her during marital relations, so in such a case, it's l'reshus chaveira nichnas. He's injuring her when he's in her domain. He's in her, and he goes to her. So lekol shekain, definitely, he has to be careful. True, he has reshus to be there, but nevertheless, he has to be careful and pay attention to what he's doing, not to injure her. So he should be chayiv for this. So the Gemara says, okay, this is a very strong kal v'chaimer, but the reasoning it says in the Mishnah, though, seems to be saying differently, as the Gemara, as Rav Huna proved. Hakatani, but in the Mishnah it says, that as long as it's a place where you have the reshus to go there, and you cause a damage, you'll be pater. So if we take that reasoning, we should apply the same thing over here regarding this injury that the husband causes to his wife. And says the Gemara, no, you can't compare. Why? Hasam tarvaya kadodininu. Over there, when the person with the barrel and the person with the beam, and they walked and they bumped into each other, and over there you pater, it's not only that they have both reshus to walk there, because it's a reshus harabim, but they were both active. The one with the beam and the one with the barrel, they were both walking, and therefore, as they were walking, they bumped into each other. So because they were both active, so therefore, the one with the barrel can't blame the one with the beam, because the one with the beam says, just like I walked in your direction and my beam bumped into your barrel, you were walking in my direction, and both of our actions together caused this damage here. But however, when it comes to the injury that the husband causes his wife, you covered maisa. The husband is the one that's active, and therefore he's the one that's doing the damage. He's the one that's injuring her. But that's it. So therefore, he's going to be responsible for this, even though what he's doing is something that he has permission to do. But nevertheless, if he's the one that's active, he has to be careful with what he does. Can we say that the woman is not involved and she's not active like the husband? But there's a pasuk that when a wife, or that is a woman rather, a woman and a man have a relation that's forbidden, and they're both going to be getting the punishment or the chi of koris. It says that they both get this punishment of koris, and they're both referred to as oisais. They're both doing the aveda. So the pasuk seems to be indicating here that there is an action, both on behalf of the husband, of the man that is, and the woman, that. And so therefore we can't say that only the man is active and she's not active, and therefore he would be chayev for the injury here. And says the Gemara there, what the pasuk means when it says oisais, it means hanar l'tavayis lahu, that they're both having pleasure in this, and therefore in a case where a man and woman have a forbidden relationship, they're going to both be chayev the kares or the misa, whatever it is, because the hana is as if she did a maisa as well. That's what oisais there means. But on the other hand, though, iu maisu the ka'avid. But the husband is the only one that's actually doing an action. So therefore, when it comes to the halacha of being chayiv for injuring her, the husband will be responsible for this. He has to be careful with what he's doing. The Mishnah then said the cases that we learned here about the Balkaida, the one with the beam coming first and the one with the barrel is behind him. Okay, so the Gemara brings a statement from Rish Lakish, and then we'll try to prove it from our Mishnah. Omer Rish Lakish said the following halacha, and we had this a few times already before in the Masechta. Shtei paris b'Rishus Harabim. There are two cows in the Rishus Harabim. Achas revutza. One is lying in the Rishus Harabim. It's not a place to lie in Rishus Harabim, but this cow is lying down there. V'achas maleches, and the other one is walking in its way in Rishus Harabim. So now, but maleches b'Revutza. If the one that was walking kicked and got wild, and it kicked the one that was lying, petura. So it'll be potter for the damages that it causes, because why is your cow lying here that is in the middle of the street? Your cow is lying here, so therefore anyone that goes and kicks it, this other cow came along and kicked it, you'll be potter for that. We had this concept before in the Gemara, and the Gemara referred to this halacha of Rish Lakish, that this is the rule of kala mishana. If someone comes and does something unusual, so then someone else comes and does something unusual in reaction to what you did, so you'll be potter. Because why are you mishana? Why do you allow your cow to lie here in the middle of the street? However, if revutza b'maleches, if the cow that's lying there kicked the cow that was passing by walking, then chayeves, then you'll be chayev for this damage. Why are you kicking my cow? My cow is walking along its way the way you're usually supposed to be walking in the Rishus Harabim. Says the Gemara, shall we say we can prove what Rish Lakish said from our Mishnah? Because the Mishnah in the first case says, the person with the beam is walking in the front. And the person with the barrel is walking behind him. The barrel was broken by the beam that's ahead of him, potter. So the one with the beam will be potter because the one with the barrel is at fault. He walked too quickly and he bumped into him. But if the person with the beam stopped, then chayiv. Then you'll be chayiv for the damage of the barrel because he bumped into him, because he stopped, so it's his fault. Says the Gemara, so over here in the Mishnah, the fact that the one with the beam stops, and because of that the barrel bumps in and breaks, it's similar to the case of the cow that's lying there. And this cow that's lying, it kicks the one that's walking and damages him, and yichai for this, Dami. It's compared to this, vikatan yichai, and our Mishnah says yichai for this. So it's basically the same kind of halacha. So this proves the point that Rish Lakish said. Says the Gemara, what you're saying is logical, that you can prove what Rish Lakish said from the Mishnah. Hasaya baya, you're trying to bring a raya from the Mishnah for Rish Lakish. Not only is our Mishnah not going to be a proof of what Rish Lakish said, it's actually a question on what Rish Lakish said. Why? Because when you read what Rish Lakish says that the animal that was lying there, if it kicked the animal that walked by, so then you'll be chayiv. So now what do you see from this? But it would seem like that if the animal that was walking tripped over this animal that was lying there and blocking the road, then pater. Then the owner of the animal that allowed his animal to lie there on the road would be pater to pay for this. He's only going to be chayiv if the cow that was lying there kicked him when he was walking by, but otherwise it would be pater. But our Mishnah is saying not so. Our Mishnah is saying that this damage happens automatically, meaning the one with the beam stops, and now the one with the barrel behind just bumps into him, the katani chayev, and the Mishnah says that the one with the beam that stopped will be chayev. So why did Rish Lakish say that only if the cow that was lying there kicked the cow that was walking by, you'd be chayev for that? How about the fact that the cow walking just bumped into the cow that was lying there? Why wouldn't you be chayev for that? So that's a question of what Rish Lakish said from our Mishnah. Answers the Gemara, the cases of the Mishnah and Rish Lakish are different. Mas Nisan, in the case of our Mishnah, what it's talking about is the Pascal Orcha Kishelda. When this person stopped with his beam, he stopped in such a way that he basically created a roadblock. His beam is blocking the whole width of the entire Rishus Harabim, not allowing anyone to go through. So in such a case, anybody that bumps into this beam and gets damaged, the Baal HaKaida will be chayiv for this because you blocked the whole road. There's no way I can go around. Right. So one shot over here Taisus said is that he basically stopped with his beam and put down his beam in the Rishus Harabim and created a roadblock. Or another way Taisus says is that the way he was holding his beam on his shoulders, he was holding the beam on his shoulders that were spread and it was extended, blocking the entire Rishus Harabim. So the moment he stops, it automatically blocks the entire Rishus Harabim. In such a case, you'll be responsible for any damages that happens automatically here because you're blocking the whole way. Hacha, here though, what was Rish Lakish speaking about? You had a cow that lied down in the Rishus Harabim, but it's just lying on one side of the road. In such a case, if you just bump into this cow, if your cow bumps into this cow and gets damaged, you're not going to be, the owner of the cow that's lying there is not going to be chai for this. Why? Because you should have walked on the other side. You can go around. Only if the cow that's lying there went and kicked the cow that was walking by, then the owner of that cow lying there will be chai. Okay, that's the Reisha of our Mishnah. So there's no raya to Rish Lakish, but the Gemara also explained that it's not a question on Rish Lakish. Ella says the Gemara, Sefer the Masnisin Messiah Rish Lakish. Similarly, we could bring a raya from the next case of the Mishnah to what Rish Lakish said. The Ktani, because in the Sefer of the Mishnah it said that where the case was in the reverse, that Hoya Bal Chavis Rishain, the one with the barrel was going first, Ubal Kaira Achrain, and the one with the beam was behind him. And then the Mishnah said, Nishpera Chavis Bekaira. If the barrel breaks with the one with the beam that was behind him, chayiv, he's going to be responsible for this damage because you walked too quick and you bumped into the one with the barrel and you broke it, so you chayiv. But vim amad bal chavis, if the one with the barrel stops, then the one with the beam behind it that bumped into him will be pater because it's the fault of the bal chavis that was in the front that stopped. Says the Gemara, over here, the kimhaleches b'revutzadami. This is compared to the other case, to the other halacha that Rish Lakish said, when the one that's walking is the one that bumps into the one that stopped. That's what happened here, right? The one with the beam that's walking bumped into the one that stopped in the front, the one with the barrel. The Ketani Potter, and our Mishnah says you're Potter. So over here as well, the cow that's walking, Rish Lakish is saying the cow that's walking and it kicks the cow that's lying there. And you could learn from our Mishnah that you would be Potter. So this proves the point that Rish Lakish said. Says the Gemara, no, it's not a raya from our Mishnah. Why not? Masnise dichi orche kamazgi. In our Mishnah, the one with the beam that's walking behind is just walking normally. That's the case of our Mishnah that it says that he would be chayiv for this. However, over here, it's a different case. The case that Rish Lakish said, Omalei, so you can say to him, or again, let me just correct that. In our Mishnah, because he's walking regularly, so therefore he would be pater. The one with the beam was ahead. Sorry, again. The one with the barrel, that is, was in the front, and the one with the beam was behind, and the one with the barrel stops. So therefore, the one with the beam that's walking behind normally, and the person in front of him makes a short stop. So then you're going to be pater for any damages that you cause. But over here, what are we talking about? The cow was lying, and another cow walking comes along. And what happened? The cow that was lying kicked the cow that walked by. So over here, you can tell him, even if, yes, it's true that you want to walk here in the Rishus Harabim, and my cow was blocking, and so you have permission to walk in this area, but levuti be less lach Rishusa. However, why is your cow that's lying here kick him? Or again, why is the cow that's walking, that is? The one that was walking is the one that kicked the cow that was lying. Why are you kicking the one that's lying there? You can walk by, but you don't have to kick him. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you kick him, for that you should be chayv. The Gemara brought this svar already before in the Masechta here, that even though the one that was lying there shouldn't be lying in the middle of the Rishus Harabim, but that doesn't mean that you have the right to go ahead and kick him. They have the right to walk by, but not to go and kick him. So therefore, there's no raya from the halacha that it said in our Mishnah to this chiddush of Rish Lakish that will still be pater. Sagt the Mishnah, Shnaim shahoyim mahalchim b'Rishus Harabim, two people that were walking in the Rishus Harabim. Echad ratz, one of them was running in the Rishus Harabim. Ve'echad mahalach, the other one is walking calmly. Oy shay shneim ratzim, or there were two people that were running in the Rishus Harabim. And they had a collision, they damaged one another. Shneim peturim, because it's a Rishus Harabim, they both have the Rishus to walk or run there, they'll both be pater. Says the Gemara Masnis in the like Isi ben Yehuda, the halacha of our Mishnah is not like Isi ben Yehuda's opinion. The Tanya, because in Abraisi we learned Isi ben Yehuda, Isi ben Yehuda said, Ratz chayev. If one person's walking and the other person's running, and there was a collision, the one that was speeding, the one that was running, he's the one that will be chayev for this. Because he's behaving unusually by running. Says the Gemara, Isi, however, Isi will agree that even though he was running, he'll still be pater, be'erev Shabbos ben Hashmashis. If it was erev Shabbos, right when the time when Shabbos comes in, shehu pater, the one that was running is pater, mipnei shu'ratz b'rishus, because then he has rishus to run in the honor of Shabbos, as we'll see soon. The Gemara will explain what this is about. And then you'll be pater, even though he was running, and he shouldn't be running in the rishus Rabbim, but he'll be pater for this. Rabbi Yechanan said, Halacha Isi ben Yehuda. We paskin like what Isi ben Yehuda said. Could we say that Rabbi Yechanan paskins like Isi ben Yehuda in the Braise, and not like what it says in our Mishnah that anytime anyone runs in the Rishus Harabim, you would be pater? But Rabbi Yechanan always says, Halacha Stam Mishnah. We always paskin like a Stam Mishnah that has no name. We paskin like the Mishnah. So here we should paskin like the Mishnah, not like Isi ben Yehuda. Or Tanan, the Mishnah says, Echad Ratz v'Echad Mahalach. One was running, one was walking. They were both running. Peturim, they're going to be pater. And says the Gemara, our Mishnah is actually saying the same thing as the Braise. Masnisen be'erev Shabbos ben Hashmashis. In the Mishnah, when it says that one was walking and one was running, it was also talking about erev Shabbos ben Hashmashis, when one is allowed to be running. How do you know this? The Mishnah didn't specify this. Mimai says the Gemara midiktani, because what does the Mishnah say? After it says the case where one was walking and one was running, the Mishnah says, they were both running, peturin. They'll both be pater. But the question is, hasu lamali. Why does the Mishnah have to say this second case that when they were both running, they would be pater? If in a case where one is running and one is walking, but nevertheless they're both pater. So even though one is walking normally and the other one is speeding, he's running, you would think maybe he should be chai, but nevertheless the Mishnah says he's pater. Shneim ratzim ibaya. Is there any chiddush to say that if they're both running, that they would both be pater? If they're both running, one can't blame the other more than him. So why does the Mishnah have to say this case? So therefore, there's a problem here in the Mishnah. So we have to say that our Mishnah in the beginning was talking about erev Shabbos. This is how you have to understand our Mishnah. Echad ratz v'echad mahalach, in a case where one is running in the Rishus Harabim and the other is walking, pater. So then you're going to be pater for the damage you cause. And what was the Mishnah talking about over here? When is that true? Be'erev Shabbos ben Hashmashis. When it's erev Shabbos, right when Shabbos comes in, so the one that's running has the permission to run. So it'll be pater for the damages. But if it's in a weekday, then echad ratz v'echad mahalach. If one is running and one is walking, then chayiv, the one that's running will be chayiv for the damage that he causes. But nevertheless, then the Mishnah says, Shneim ratzim, if they were both running, they were both speeding, then afilu b'chol peturin. Then even in the weekday, they're going to be pater because they were both running. So one can't blame the other. Amar, the Tana here said, the Moide Isi, that Isi admits and agrees that by Erev Shabbos ben Hashmashis, and it's when Erev Shabbos, right when Shabbos comes in, Shu pater, that you'll be pater, even when you're the one that's running and the other one was walking regularly, because you're running with Rishus in that time. Says the Gemara, Be'erev Shabbos, my b'rishusike. If you're running with Rishus on Erev Shabbos, what Rishus is there to run then? For what purpose is a person running? Says the Gemara, Ked Rab Chanina. The Amar Rab Chanina said about the time, right when Shabbos comes in, that a person should go out and greet Shabbos. The way it was in those times, they would go out into the field and greet Shabbos. And they would say, Boyu v'neitze likras kala malkasa. Let's go out to the kala, to the queen, to greet Shabbos. V'amrila, others would say, Likras Shabbos Kala Malkasa. Let's go out to greet Shabbos, which is a Kala, which is a Malkasa, which is a queen. Rabbi Yanai, Mis'atef v'koy, Rabbi Yanai would garb himself with special Shabbos clothing, and v'koy would stand, v'omar, and he would say, some other Rishonim here, I think the Namuki Yosef is actually guided instead of v'koy, instead of standing, he's guided that he would dance. He would go out dancing and he would say, Boy chala, come my bride. This is Shabbos. It's explained in Chassidus, when they get to Shabbos, that the Yidden are the Chassan, and the Shabbos is the Kala. And right, just like it says, Al Pi Kabbalah, that the Zoh and Malchus, right, the Yidden are the Sfiris of Zoh, and Shabbos is Sfiris of Malchus. It's the 7th day of the week. The 7th is Malchus, the 7th of the Sfiris. And Malchus, Shabbos gets elevated and comes and is unified with Yidden and connects to the Eibishter. That's the great simcha, the joy that you go out to greet Shabbos. When you run out and you go out, it says this is described regarding the Arizal. The Arizal used to go out into the field and greet Shabbos. So if a person is running with this joy and dancing and going out and greeting, and as he goes out, he bumps into someone and causes damage, you'll be pater because you're going out to greet Shabbos. Sagt der Heilige Mishnah, Mevakeya b'reshus harabim. A person is chopping wood in the reshus harabim, v'hizik b'reshus hayachid, and a piece of wood went and flew into the reshus hayachid and damaged someone. Or in the reverse, b'reshus hayachid, he was chopping wood in the reshus hayachid, v'hizik b'reshus harabim, and a piece flew out and damaged someone in the reshus harabim. Or a third case, b'reshus hayachid, he was in his own property and he was chopping wood, v'hizik b'reshus hayachid acher, and a piece of wood flew out and damaged someone in someone else's property. Chayev. For all these cases, you're going to be chayev for the damage that you cause. Says the Gemara, it's necessary for the Mishnah to say all these three cases, even though it's all basically saying the same point, that you're doing something in one property or in one domain and it causes damage in another, you'll still be responsible for that. Says the Gemara as follows. If the Mishnah would say that a person is chopping wood in the Rishus HaYachid, v'hizik b'Rishus HaRabim, and then that causes damage in the Rishus HaRabim, the Gemara begins with this case, even though the Mishnah that I just read, in the Girsa we have here, this is the second case, but the Bach changes the Girsa of the Mishnah. So the Gemara begins with the case where a person was in his private property and is chopping wood and it causes damage from the Rishus HaRabim. I would say the reason there, why are you responsible? Mishum d'shchichi rabim. Because if you're chopping wood in your property, but you're doing it near the Rishus HaRabim, and a piece of wood could fly onto the Rishus HaRabim, when there are so many people always in the Rishus HaRabim, so that's something you have to be careful about. You could expect that it could damage someone. Aval mirishus harabim l'rishus hayachid. If you're chopping wood in the Rishus HaRabim, and it ends up flying and damaging someone in his private property, the lo shchichi rabim, in someone's private property, there's not a lot of people there, and it's not something that you could expect that it would end up damaging someone there. So therefore, I would say maybe for that you should not be chayev. You shouldn't be chayev for this. On the other hand, if we would say that the person was chopping the wood in the Rishus HaRabim and it flew into Rishus HaYachid, I would say the reason you chayev for this, because the act of chopping wood in the Rishus HaRabim is something that you're doing without permission. You know, Rishus HaRabim is not a place to be chopping wood. So therefore, I would say that over there you chayev. If you were chopping wood in the Rishus HaYachid and something flew from there into the Rishus HaRabim and it damaged someone in the Rishus HaRabim, you can argue and say, I'm doing it in my private property. The fact that something flies out and damages someone, I shouldn't be chayev for that. I should be a part of this. If the Mishnah would say these two cases, I would say that when you chopped wood in your private property and it flew into the Rishus HaRabim, you chayev for that because there are many people there. You should have been careful. And if you were chopping wood in the Rishus HaRabim and it flew into the Rishus HaYachid, the place where you're doing this action is without permission. So in these two cases, you'd be chayev. But if you're chopping wood in your Rishus HaYachid and it flies into someone else's Rishus HaYachid, so you're doing it in a place that there aren't many people around. It's a private area. And the action that you're doing is also in your private property where you're doing it with permission. I would say that the fact that it flew out into someone else's property and damaged, maybe you should be part of this. Therefore, the Mishnah has to say the third case as well. So as the Rishonim say, this is a Mishnah, the way the Mishnah says these three halachas is what's known as loizu afsu. Even though the Mishnah could have just said the final halacha and it wasn't necessary to say the others, but it's going from the smaller chiddush to a bigger chiddush until it comes to the biggest chiddush in a place where you're in a private property and it's around private properties, you're still going to be chayev for the damage that it causes for people in their properties. Tana Rabbana, we learned in Abraisa the following halacha: if you walked into the store of a carpenter without his permission, the notza bakas, and a chip of wood flew out from the work of the carpenter, v'tafchal panav, and it flew into the person that walked in, his face, umeis, and the person died. Pater. So the carpenter that's doing his work there will be pater. What will he be pater from? Will be pater from galus. Usually when you kill someone accidentally, you have to go into galus, but over here, the person walked into your store without your permission, you'll be pater from galus. However, if he walks into your store with permission, then the damage that you cause him, chayev, you'll be chayev. So the Gemara now explains, what did the sefer mean when it said chayev? My chayev. When he walked in with permission, what will you be chayev for? So it would seem like what the Braise here is saying is that you'd be chayev in galus. But the Gemara says, no, Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina said, chayev b'dalet dvarim. In the sefer of this Braise, it's not talking about that here he walked in with permission and you accidentally killed him, but rather he got injured from your work. Something flew into him and injured him. and you'll be chayiv to pay the 4 things that a person that damages someone has to pay. Right? Adam Amazik is chayiv to pay nezek, tsar, ripoy, sheves. You have to pay for the pain, for the deductibles, for the loss of work that you cause him now because of this injury, but not baishas though. There is a 5th payment, which is usually the embarrassment, but Rashi here brings, we had this before in the Gemara, you don't pay for baishas unless you intended to do the action of injuring him. But in this case, it wasn't with an intention, so for that you're going to be potter. But Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina continues and says, upater migalus. Even over here in the Sefer, where the person walked in with your reshus, you're still going to be potter from galus. Why? So he says, lefisha ein doime liyar. Because the place over here, when he walks into your store and you kill him accidentally, even though he came in with your permission, but nevertheless, this is not compared to a forest. As we saw before in the Gemara Namar Aleph, the case in the Torah where it speaks about when you kill someone b'sheigig and yechayev galus, it gives the example of a forest. A forest is a place which is open for anybody to walk in. Okay, in a forest, everybody is going in there. It's like their reshus because everybody is allowed to walk in there. But over here, though, he's walking into your store. So even though he had permission to walk into your store, but nevertheless, it's your private store. So here, when this accident happens and he's killed b'shegi, you'll be potter for this. That's the way we have quoted an explanation for what Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina said. But on this, Rabbi asks, Rabbi asks on this. No, it is not logical here. Kal v'chaimer. It's a kal v'chaimer to say that you should be chayiv in galus. If when it comes to a forest, again, if when it comes to a forest, in a forest, everybody over there is going in without asking any permission. A forest is an open place, and just everyone comes in there. But nevertheless, if you kill someone b'sheigig, then you'll be responsible for this. Even though you didn't give him permission to enter, but it doesn't matter. Because it's an open place, it's like you granted him permission to enter here, meaning you have to expect him to come there. And if you're chopping wood and you're not careful and he gets hurt or killed accidentally, the Gaila, you'll have to go into Galus for this. So over here, if it's in your store, he asked you, may I enter? And you gave him permission to come in. Most definitely, if you continue doing your work and you're not careful and it accidentally kills him, for sure you should be chayiv in galus for this. How could Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina say that you would be potter for this? So therefore Rava says, yeah, Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina said you're potter for galus, but the reason is the opposite than we thought. Not because it's less your fault. My potter migalus. Why in this case would you be potter from galus? Because the leisagi begalus. Because in such a case, it's not even enough for you to get a kapara by going into galus. Usually galus is for a person that kills b'sheigig, and there's a kapara of galus. Over here, though, it's not even enough for you to go into galus for this. And behind the time of the Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina, this is what Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina was saying here regarding this case. Because this is a situation where you're a sheigig, but you're more closer to mezid because you let the guy into the store. And then you continue doing your work and you're not careful. So this is almost like something that's being done intentional, and therefore galus won't help for you. So that's why you potter from galus. Masav Rav asks on this. It says, and then the person that's chayiv malchus. So there's the shliach bezdin that's giving the malchus in 39 lashes, and he adds another extra one that he wasn't supposed to give him. Umeis. And the person you added and you hit him extra and he dies because a result of this, which is an accident, but you shouldn't have added that extra time. So because you added this extra time and you accidentally killed him, you go into galus. Asks Gemara, but why do you go into galus? Over here, this is an accident which is very, very close to a mezid. You hit him extra. You should realize that if you hit him one extra malchus, and he can die by this. The Katani Areza Gaila, nevertheless it says it's such a kind of shaygig which is close to mezid, still you go into galos. So Rav Shimi ben Erdah says, no, the case over here was he didn't intentionally hit him an extra time. The toy b'minyana, he was counting. When you count the lashes, he counted by mistake an extra time, and as a result of that mistake, he hit him extra and he died. So this is considered to be a sheigig. This is not Karav Lemezid. This was the answer that Rav Shimi ben Erdah gave. Tafach le Rava besandale. Rava hit him on his sandal. He hit him and told him, "Amalei atu hu money." the person that's giving the lashes, he's the one that counts the number of the malchus. But Vatanya, we learned in the Braisa about this. How is malchus done? Gadol shebadayanin kaira. The greater one of the bezdin here that was Machayev, this person malchus, he's the one that reads the psukim that have to be said while he giving the malchus. You read it there, the pasuk, it says v'hifla shemes markaischa. Okay. Then v'hasheni, the second one, there's another person of the bezdin there, Maina, he has to count the lashes. V'ashlishi, the third one of the bezdin, Omer hikuhu, he stands there and says that you should hit him. So, which means that the person that's actually giving the lashes is not the one that counts. So how could you say that he made? Yeah, there's other people there. They have the bezdin that they are counting. So how could you say that he made a mistake in the count? So Rav Shimi ben Arda corrected his answer and said, the one that was counting made a mistake in the count, and that's what as a result, the one that was hitting him hit him extra. So therefore, this is a shaygig. Meisvei, but the Gemara asks from another brayse, it says, a person threw a rock into the Rishus Harabim, v'horag, and he killed someone there in the Rishus Harabim. Hareza goyle. So because of this accident, you killed someone b'shaygig, you have to go into Golas. Asks the Gemara, but over here in this case, certainly the shaygig cut of lemezidu. This is a kind of accident which is very close to being amazed. What are you throwing a rock into the Rishus Harabim for? This is something that's going to cause people to die here. The Bayal Lasuki Daite, you should be paying attention to Rishus Harabim, Shchichi Inchi. Then the Rishus Harabim, there are many people there, and you're throwing a rock there. Nevertheless, it says it's such a kind of shaygig, even though it's close to amazing, you go into Golos. Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak, so Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak answers, we're not talking about a person that throws a rock into the Rishus Harabim. Rather, B'sai says Kaisla, this person was demolishing his wall, and he wasn't careful, and part of the wall fell into the Rishus Harabim and killed someone. Fragt the Gemara, but still, this is a kind of shaygig that's close to amazing. You should be paying attention. What are you demolishing your wall that can fall into the Rishus Harabim while people are walking there? And so the Gemara, he demolished his wall at night, so he couldn't see what's going on. Fragt the Gemara, doesn't matter. At night, he also has to pay attention. How are you demolishing your wall at nighttime in the Rishus Harabim? And says the Gemara, actually, he demolished his wall. It was daytime, but it was la'ashpa. He demolished his wall into a garbage dump, and there in a garbage dump, nobody's there. So that's why he's not amazed for this, or not close to amazed for this. Says the Gemara, wait a minute, what's this case here? Hi ashbei chidami. When you say he demolished his wall into this garbage, what are we talking about over here? If it's a garbage dump that many people go there, people drop their garbage there, as we'll see soon, people go there to relieve themselves. You don't have the bathrooms in those days. So if that's a place where people are there, so then meiziru. So you're demolishing the wall there, you should know that people are there, you're still going to be amazed for this, or close to amazed. But if it's a garbage dump where people are never there, so then onasu. So then the fact that someone happened to be there and you killed him b'shaygig, you shouldn't be chayiv and galus for this. It's an einus. You would never expect that a person should be there. Rav Papa says, what's the case over here? This is a garbage dump that during the day people are not there. Nighttime, some people come out and go there to relieve themselves. But it's not during the daytime people are not there. And however, the mikri v'yaseh. It could sometimes happen, a person that's desperate, that he goes there in this garbage dump even at daytime to relieve himself. So therefore, mezid lo have. So this person that demolished his wall into this area, he's not a mezid, because it's not a place that people usually come there during the day. But he won't be considered to be a eines, because after all, there is sometimes that people do come there, so therefore you should have paid attention to this. Okay, this is all one version of explaining the brayses that we brought before, that it goes on the seifa of the brayse there, where the seifa said that the person walked into your store and he walked in with rishos. On that, Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina said you're going to be potter from galus because it's cut of tameisid. Now the Gemara brings another version. Rav Papa Mishmei Rav Masnila Reisha. He brought this on the Reisha of the Braise. What did it say in the Reisha? Hanichnes lachanusa shel nage shaloi b'rishus. He came into a carpenter store without his permission. The nitzele b'kaz v'tavchalei al panav, and a chip of wood flew out and flew into his face, amazing, and the person died. Potter, that you're going to be potter from galus. Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina. Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina said on this that he's going to be potter from galus. He's chayiv barba dvarim. If you injured him, you will be chayiv for paying for the damage and for the other things that I mentioned before, the 4 things that you chayiv when you injure a person. And the reason for this is, Rashi says, even though he walked in shalei b'rishos, but you should have noticed that he walked into the store. You should have seen that someone walked in. So therefore, you're going to be chayiv. This is still, there's a level of negligence over here, and this is adam amazik, and you're going to be chayiv for this. But to pater migolus. However, in the reisha, you're going to be pater from golus. When the person walked into the store without your permission. Says the Gemara now, man the mastin law seifer, the one that says that you're pater from golus in the seifer because you can't compare it to a forest. Now, the case of the seifer was when the person walked in with your rishos, and he said that that's not compared to a forest because if he walks into your store with rishos, it's cut of lemezid kol sheken areisha. Most definitely in the reisha, it's not compared to a forest. Over here, the person walked in without your rishos, and you killed him b'shoigig. For sure, it's not like a forest where anybody's allowed to walk in. You'll be pater from the galus. But Amanda Masnila Reisha, the one that says in the Reisha that you're going to be pater from galus, because in the Reisha he walked in shaloi b'rishos, so it's not like in the case of a forest where everyone is allowed to go there. Avala seife, but in the seife when he walked in with your permission, kivin de b'rishos, since he walked in with your permission, it's more similar to the case of a forest where everyone's allowed to go there. And here as well, he walked in with your permission and chayiv galus. You'll be chayiv galus for this, for the fact that you killed him b'shaygig. But the Gemara asks on this, according to this version now, Umi chayiv galus. Could you say that you'd be chayiv galus for this? But Vatanya, we learned in another brayso that says a very similar case. Hanichnes lachanusa shel nafach. You went into a store of a nafach. What do they have nafach there? I think it's a welder. The notza nitzaitzis, the tovchal panov, and a blacksmith. Okay, welder or blacksmith. And the sparks came out. The tovchal al panov, and it flew in this person's face. Umeis, and he died. Pater, you'll be pater for these damages. So over here it says he came into the store, and then the brayso adds, "Vafilin nichnes b'rishos." Even if he came in b'rishos, you're going to be pater. So over here, in this brayso it says that if you're nichnes b'rishos, you're going to be pater from the galus. Okay, so therefore this is a question of what we said according to this version here, that in a case where it's nichnes b'rishos, that you'll be chayiv in galus, because it is similar to a forest. Here in this brayso it says no, you're going to be pater from galus. So the Gemara says this brayso that we just quoted is a unique case. What is this brayso talking about? B'shulya de nafchi. We're talking over here about a student of this blacksmith, and therefore, if you kill him b'sheige, you'll be pater for that. So the Gemara asks, why is that any different? Because he's your student, you're allowed to kill him. Shulya de nafchi lemikta. He's your student, and therefore, if he gets killed when comes into your store, so he's supposed to die, and therefore you'd be pater from galus. Says the Gemara, the case here is so when his teacher was begging him to leave the store. I'm doing work here now, and I'm not teaching you now. He was begging him to leave, and he didn't leave, and therefore, if he got killed, you pater for the galus from that. Then he didn't want to leave. In fact, the Gemara is still just because he asked him to leave and he didn't want to leave, so therefore he deserves to die. And if you kill him b'sheigig, you'll be pater from galus for this. And since the Gemara, now the case of here is Kesava Yatza, the owner, the store owner, or this blacksmith, which is his teacher, thought that he left. So therefore, this is a case where it's a sheigig. You didn't realize he's still there, and you'll chayiv galus for this. If that's the case, your mistake was that you thought he left the store, so then we don't even have to say it's talking about a teacher, a carpenter that's teaching a student and he was asking him to leave. You could say the same thing with anybody else that you thought that left the store. And says the Gemara, no, there's a reason why we said it's talking about a student. Because if it was anyone else, so then he's not afraid of this storekeeper or this blacksmith that's asking him to leave. So you have to be aware that even when you ask him to leave, he may not listen to you and he may not leave. So if you, even after you asked him to leave, if you kill him b'shaygig, you'll be chayiv galus for this. But over here, since he's your student and he's afraid of his teacher, so over here, because he's afraid of you, so in such a case, you expected him to leave and you thought he's gone. And therefore, if you kill him b'shaygig, you'll be chayiv galus for this. Okay, we're going to do one more piece just to finish off the inyan, because it's mamish connected to before. Rav Zvid, Mishmei, the Rave, Masilo Aha. Rav Zvid, he taught this halacha that Rabbi Yosi Bar Chanina said, he taught it on the following brayso. The brayso says another halacha, ulmotza. It says in the Torah, when you kill someone b'sheigig, that you were chopping wood, ulmotza sreyu bayar, and the piece of wood came out and flew into someone in the forest. What do you learn from the word of matzah? Prat l'mamtzias atzmai. This excludes a case where this person himself brought himself to this place. He wasn't there when you were chopping the wood. He came there afterwards. What does that mean? So he says the case. Mikana Rav Elazar ben Yaakov learned that from this pasuk as follows: if you threw a rock in a certain direction, and there was nobody there in that direction that would be killed by this rock, and then someone came and stuck his head out of the window after you threw the rock, and now the rock flew into his head and it killed him, potter, you'll be potter for this. If you stuck his head out or he came there afterwards, you'll be potter for this. Because the Torah says matzah, only if he was there before. Now on this, Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, potter migolus. This pasuk tells me that you're potter from golus. Special limit to say a potter from golus, but v'chayiv bar bad dvarim. However, when it comes to damages though, if you injure this person, over here we don't have that exclusion. And if there's still a level of negligence that you're throwing it to an area where a person could be coming there, and you will be chayiv to pay for the injury and the 4 things that you're chayiv for injury. Says the Gemara now, man de masni lo aha, the one that said this halacha of Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina on this case that you're chayiv for the injury here, even though the person wasn't even there when you threw the rock, kol shekain akamaisa. Definitely the same would apply to the previous brisa that we learned regarding a person that came into your store, even if he came into your store without your permission, but he walked into your store. You should have seen him walking into your store. You continue doing your carpentry after you walk into your store. For sure, over there you'll be chayav for any injury that you caused. But the one that said it on the previous case, that you're chayav for the injury that you caused for the person that walked into your store, over there you saw him. You should have seen him. He was there before you were doing your work that caused the injury. But over here, regarding this person that stuck his head out afterwards and you injured him, pot to legamri. You would be completely potted, not only from galus, even for injury, because he came there after you already threw the rock, and therefore you'll be potted even for the injury.